Welcome back to another fantasy video with me, JD. Now, you're probably wondering, why am I listening to a super coacher make a fantasy team? This makes no sense. And look, I don't disagree with you, but I am now in my third season of AFL men's fantasy, like fourth season kind of overall. And in those 3 seasons, sorry to flex, but just for those that haven't introduced me before, and I feel like that'll be a fair few of these videos because I am a super coach by trade. But as you can see at the back, I've got 3 hats from those seasons. I think like 62nd, 34th, and 6th. So I've been on a pretty good hit rate, and then I backed that up with the round 0 win in Bolter this year as well. So won the $1,000 for that for having the highest overall score for round 1. So that is why you're clicking on this video. I have been on a really good hot streak, and you've now joined at the perfect time to see me flame out and do no good whatsoever. So thank you for joining. If you'd been listening to my videos or watching my content the last couple of years, it might have helped you. It's probably going to backfire this year, so be warned. I think all good things come to an end, and while I've had I guess 3 seasons and a round of success, there's no guarantee that'll continue. But what I will do is quickly go through how I think about building a team, which I don't think is too unique to some of the others. The reason why I started playing fantasy was just to learn more about how the high trade value-based game went, so I could take it back to Supercoach, which I think I've done somewhat successfully, hopefully more successfully this year. And then, go through the players that I do and don't like, and we'll fill out a team. So if you're one of my Supercoach viewers that are dabbling with fantasy this year, I hope you have fun. It is a really good format with, the trading. I enjoy it quite a lot. And if you care more about your Supercoach, it's a great format just to take it not too seriously. Just pick the players you like and have a good time. But anyway, let's get stuck into it. So firstly, what am I trying to achieve with my team when I pick a team? And the answer is very simple. Actually, the Bolter team's a good example of this. I just want the prices to go up. I want to see green at the end of round 1 and round 2, basically. You can see here, of this team, there are exactly 3 players that lost money. Warner, almost nothing. Gorn, almost nothing. And then Kitty Coleman got injured. Everyone else went up in price. And that's exactly what I'm trying to do with fantasy. I do not count keepers or premios or any of that stuff. I don't care. I just want everyone's price to go up at the end of round 1. And if you do that and spend your salary cap, you make lots of money, you get lots of value, get lots of points on field. It's all good. That is all we're trying to do, really. That's the crux of this game. I think it's just trying to make the most cash with the dollars that you're allocated and put as many points as possible on field. It's so obvious, but I think people stuff it up and just because they want safety in captains or primos or whatever it may be. So it's not always easy to pick the right players either to break out, but for me, that's crux the game. So I don't really care about captains. This year's interesting. Obviously, we've got the buys, the early buys, and I do think I care about them more in this format than in Supercoach. Just because with the higher trades, I think you can sideways into some of these guys after their buys. I don't want to take on too many early buys, but I will take them where it makes sense, where I can get the value out of it. And I've always said that for where there are players that I think are a good value, I am happy to take them and take their buy. For example, if you heard me on any of the other fantasy podcasts I've been on this preseason, I'm a big Nick Dacos advocate, have been all preseason, because even though he's got that buy, I think he presents enough value that it still makes sense to pick him. In general, though, your premiums types aren't going to have that much value upside attached with them. So this is more for like your Jordans, your Buderiks, these types. If you like them, take those value guys, fill your team with them. Don't be afraid to take on the buy. Don't pick guys that have injury interrupted preseasons. That's a pretty basic one. Avoid the 30+ year players. And, there's always exceptions to the rule, but, a bit of a blanket rule there. That's pretty much it. Let's get into picking your team. Don't pick top price guys because there's almost never any value in any of them. So English, Bonds, Olivers, these types, like fading all of those. Haven't even looked at them. I have not considered anyone over $1 million, if I'm being perfectly honest. The only ones that considered below that, like if Green without a buy, I would be interested in picking, and Brayshaw I was kind of interested in because I still thought there was some value. But with what's happening in the preseason, he's out, and then it just really leaves Dacos. And then apart from that, there's no one above 900k I'm looking at all. All right, so let us jump into building out a team, and we're going to start with defense. Should we just... I'll go one by one. Why not? All right. So, how are we going to make sure that these guys give us the value that we want, have got the price upside? I have done this by gut feel the last couple of seasons and it's worked fine. So, if you want to do it by gut feel, then absolutely. I, though, love the work that J Pop does. I love the worthwhile averages analysis he's done. And if you haven't stared at that before, it's effectively if you were to pick a team at round one and just do no trades and let it run for the year and get the highest scoring team through that way, what would they have to average for their price to get into that team? Effectively, what do they have to do to be an elite pick at their price? So it's a really useful guidepost for how much value you need to see in picks at different price points, give you an idea for what you're aiming for. So for example, Nick Dacos, he's priced at 109 based off what we saw last year. Now his worthwhile average is actually lower than what he's priced at, as it's 107 if you include buy adjusted, which I won't be referencing for this. Just know that it adds a few extra points to whatever the worthwhile average is if they got that buy early. But yeah, his worthwhile average is 107. I think he's going to well outstrip that, especially as a full-time CBA mid. In the first game of the year, in the one they got smashed, he went 111, and that was sitting the last 5-6 minutes with cramps on the bench. I think he is value even at his extreme price, and he's a captain vice captain option too, which is nice. It's funny because this player, like Dacos, like breaks all my rules. Don't pick top price guys. He's top of his line, right? Like I bet against Doherty last year, for example. Yeah. So anyway, he's the rule breaker. Exception to the rule. We're going to start with the exception, which is Nick Dacos. Love him. Love watching him play. I think you're going to be in a lot of pain if you don't have him in your side. You're going to be praying hard for that fin tag, and if it doesn't come, your season is done. Anyway, so Nick Dacos, pick one. All right, then we're going to fill it out with, I don't know, a whole bunch of guys that probably everyone has. We'll go Sheasel, we will go Whitfield, and we will go Young. And it's kind of tricky. I didn't want to run this many, like 100k plus guys in defense. It feels wrong. I usually go for more budget defenses than what we've got, but let's run through each of these picks. So Whitfield, he's priced at 95. His worthwhile average is 100. Now, obviously, he's went 137 in the first game of the year in round 0, and he's had 2 seasons where he's gone over 100 plus in the past. Why are we on Lockie Whitfield? So obviously he's got injury concerns, which is great. But as far as I am aware, and from what I've seen, he's had a full preseason, which is good. I'm not sure how many of those he's actually had across his career. And most importantly, under Kingsley, he's gone back to that half-back role that he has been his absolute best at and put elite numbers behind. In the preseason, he also had the majority of the kick-ins as well. I think he had 6 of their 14, I want to say. It's still an even split, like Himmelberg had 5. But yeah, Whitfield at this price, I think he can go over 100, push that 105 range, which would make him a premium option. The tricky part with him is scoring so much in round 0. All things being equal, I think I would fade him, and there's a chance I still might. Because ideally what I would do is pick him up after his first buy. But with the 137 in his price, he's going to go up probably, and 2 easy matchups in Northwest Coast, he's probably going to go up 50, 80, maybe even 100k by the time he gets off that buy. So I kind of feel like if I want him in my side and I think he's a top 6 defender, I've got to start him now or get him much later in the year. So I'm kind of leaning towards starting him now, even though I don't love the buy. But we'll see. That could still change. This one's still up in the air. Sheasel. So he averaged 97 last year. So that's what he's priced at. His worthwhile average is about 102. So I think second-year player that's now got that lead halfback role with no Zeeble there. Yes, he's sharing it with extra mouths in McKercher and Fisher. But I think, yeah, second-year player with his talent, if he holds that role at halfback, doesn't get moved forward as much as he did last year, I don't see why he couldn't improve from a 97 to a 102 and actually even push that higher in the same way that Dacos did in his second year. He went 107 in the preseason game as well, which isn't the be-all and end-all, but I'll be referencing those numbers where we don't have round 0 numbers. So, yeah, I think all positive signs that he can outperform his price. So do like Sheasel as an option, and the buy is nice. And then lastly, we've got Young priced at 89. His worthwhile average is 98, and he did a 114 in the last preseason game. The first one wasn't so good, so obviously moved into that CBA role and was getting the CBAs that we wanted to see. He's sharing him with Brayshaw, Young, Fife, and they're going to have to work that out because it definitely wasn't in sync in the preseason. But I think we've seen enough signs that he can outperform this price. There's a chance he doesn't end up being a keeper, and that could totally happen. But priority, we see green arrows next week, and I think there's a very good chance we see a green arrow with Hayden Young to start off the year. Might not, but who knows? And then we're going to add in Elliot Yeo. I think he should be in every side, but I totally get why people don't want to pick him because of the injury history and the concerns and all that. But if we look at what he's priced at, it is 70. His worthwhile average is, I believe, like 89, 90, something like that. So he needs to out average. He's priced at by 20 points. Now, in the past, he's had 3 seasons where he's actually gone 98 plus, so well outperformed that average. We know at his best, he can go that 100 plus range and could be a real season-winning pick for those that are on him. The concern is he hasn't done that in about 4 or 5 years. That is a big concern, and he's been very injury-prone. The positives for me is, it's I think now about 6 months by my calculations, he's been injury-free. So he had the last 4 games of last year where he played them out. Then he had preseason where he didn't have any surgeries or anything like that. He came back early for a mini preseason camp, then came and did the full preseason, and then he's had 2 practice games that we've seen that he played out the full game time, wasn't managed or anything like that, and as a CBA mid. So all positive signs for me, at least anyway, that Yo can go 95 plus. I think he's an absolute steal at what he's priced at. Obviously the injury risks there, but the buy and so much else is in his favor. So you could not prime from my hands. I think outside of Nick Dacos, he's probably been my favorite pick in defense. Oh, maybe Young. And then lastly, we're going with Williams. And this is really interesting because I had Caulfield on my field for most of the preseason. But with these 5 defenders and wanting to put in Williams, I've kind of run out of spots. So what can we say about Williams? He's priced at 48. He would need to be average about 80 to be an elite pick. I haven't gone back and picked through his best years, but I know they are much better than that. I really should have to bolster my argument. I guess the concern for people would be that we only saw a 69 in that round 0 game. He's then got one more game this week and then the bye. He's probably someone that you could realistically start without, monitor, and then adjust to in round 3. You could even do something like start Buderick, and like if Buderick doesn't fire and Zach Williams looks good, swap him just before he's back. Like, yeah, you could play around with stuff like that, I think. But I'm pretty sure I want Williams, and I'd rather not have to trade him in if I think he's going to be a good pick, and I think he will. Cobwebs go away. Because he played one VFL practice game, then a full AFL match. I think there's some conditioning still to come. There's obviously opportunity with players like Doherty out as well to score points. Not that he was playing down back, but absolutely chance to do some damage there for Williams. So I like him as a pick. I'm not sure if he'll get to the 80 that makes him like the worthwhile average, but I think he's going to have a good enough points on field and then have the spike games that he'll end up being a really nice pick for us. Then to fill out the bench, I think we're going to go Zach Reed, my Bombers boy, and Howes. So Howes, we obviously already saw a really good score. Was it 71, 74, something like that? Oh, it doesn't show. Excellent. Match stats. It's not in there yet. Shame. We saw... great game from House. He's going to make us money and the basement price. And then Reed, he's going to play second key defender behind Mackay. He's not a bad ball user for someone that's 205. So I actually think that they will kick to him if required as part of like a switch transition play. Not that he's going to be overly used like a half back, but I think we'll get some spike games out of Reed as well. I'm pretty comfortable, looping these 2 when Williams is out on bye and then looping these 2 when Whitfield's out on bye. I think I can probably get a 60 out of them one of those weeks. I might get 2 30s, who knows? But All right, into the mids. So, as I said, we are not going for... Oh, actually, sorry. I should talk about other defenders because I will get asked. And I want to try and cover off as many of these because I realize I haven't done as much fantasy content on the channel. So, other options I was considering in defense and still may swap to, we've got Clark and Salem, both around the same price point at 700k. Clark, with Young moving out, with Chapman being injured, opportunity there for kick-ins, although I'm sure Ryan will still take a lot, but really to be that second defender that uses the ball, takes it out of Freo's defense. He's priced, both both Clark and Salem are kind of priced in the mid 70s, and they need to average in the low 90s to hit that worthwhile average point, which I think is possible for both of them. Clark did just the 81, I want to say, in the preseason, but the one before that looked pretty good. And then Salem, we saw from the round zero game that their intention was to play him as a midfielder, and he looked good in it for, I think, a second week in a row. He scored 95, which is well above that low 90s price at, well, not well above, it's above that low 90s worthwhile average. The question is, though, with Bowie being injured, they then moved him back in the second half. His scoring dropped off. I'm not nearly as interested if he's not that CBA mid. So I need to keep an eye on teams this week and see what happens. Do they bring in a defender to replace Bowie like Hoare, or do they move Salem back into defense and bring in someone else at some other point in the field? So if it doesn't look like Salem's, or if Salem's going to be, moved backwards, then I'm probably off that pick. And I think there's a reality there is, like, this is what Brayshaw, who I think Salem's kind of the quasi replacement for, was used for. He was kind of Mr. Fix-It. He could play defense, he could play bit of wing, he could play midfield, and they would use him across those. I think, like, ideally they would have used him more midfield, but it changed based on what was going on. So, Salem's probably the slight edge over Clark for me. But yeah, neither on the side at the moment, just because I've got all of these big boys. If I decide that I don't want a Whitfield or a Sheasel, then maybe one of them is who I go to. Or if I really need to free up money, I might go away from Dacos, but I don't want to. And then Buderick, who was someone I was keen on, but I've gone away from a little bit. He's priced at 56. He needs to average in about 83 to be worthwhile. He did 88 in the game against the Tigers, and we have seen that Hardwick defensive style can produce some pretty good scoring defenders. Like Hooley, Rioli, Short in the past, and they did talk Buderick up for that short role. He also retained second position in the kick-in, so I think it was Power 3, Buderick 2, Sexton 1, and scored well in a game that they dominated. So, yeah, there's a chance that he ends up being worthwhile, but once again, who am I fitting him in for? If I'm getting off like a Whitfield or a Sheasel, like maybe I could, and I need 300k, maybe I get someone like Buderick in. If you don't like Yo, I could see people going to Buderick, but yeah. And then I guess, like, if I had to pick another premium that wasn't the ones that are in here, Stewart's probably the next up for me, but I don't love anyone. I know there's some big fans of Houston, but I can't get a good enough read on him. And someone like Short I like, but with the buy, probably once again shying away from it. And then Wanganeen Malira, who could do well, but he's got Bonner keeping him company for defense and Sinclair to return. So I think he'll improve. I just don't know if it'll be enough to be worth his starting price. All right, moving into the mids. So it's a really interesting line in the midfield because there's lots of value in here, much more so than what we've seen in the other years. And I really struggle to find premiums I like in this line. I don't want to pick any of the million plus guys. If I was forced to, gun to my head, it would have been Bont. But I still don't think... I think I can find him cheaper at some point in the year, like sub 1 mil. So I'm less inclined to start him. The 900k plus guys, there's almost no one in here that's attractive to me. Attractive is a weird way to describe it, isn't it? So, Dunkley is maybe the one if he didn't have a buy. Otherwise, like Rosie, I guess I could see that. Like Port have a pretty nice fixture. I'm sure there'll be some on Sarong, but yeah. And then, Tom Green would have been the guy if it wasn't for the buys. So here we go. We're going Butters, and we are going Davies Uniacke, which is great. I think they combined for about 40 points total in the preseason games, and they're my M1, M2. Let's go, the big boys. All right, so then why these two, given that they've given a lot of reason for people not to be confident in them. So I think what Butters is priced about 100, like 900k, I think goes to about 100 average. He's worthwhile average, I think, is just shy of 110, so maybe 109. I want to say, yeah. And so in games, so he started off last year with interrupted preseason towards the end. Did he have an ankle injury? I don't know why it's struggling to come to mind now. And so they eased him back in through the forward line, didn't play as much mid minutes. And then from about round 5 or 6, They played him in the midfield for the rest of the year. In games where Butters had 60% or more CBAs last year, which was 17 of the 23 games, he went 107. So just shy of that worthwhile average. But I think, another year as a mid, continuing to age and build out his body, I think there's a chance that he pushes that a little bit higher, could go to that, 110 range. Port have an amazing buy, so I really like this pick. I like Butters as a player a lot. He's a lot of fun to watch. But yeah, obviously he's got some injury concerns. He's had a couple of ankle niggles, and I can see why people would be gun shy on him. And then LDU, I mean, he's a super coach guy. He really is. Should I be picking him in fantasy? I'm not sure. But his best is undeniably very good. In healthy games last year, which I think I counted about 8 for him out of maybe the 13 that he played, so like barely batting at 50% healthiness. But he averaged, I think, 113 in those games. He needs about a 108, 109, a bit like Butters to be worthwhile. He's 97 priced at point. So yeah, I think he can get there as long as he's healthy, and we've seen him be healthy all this preseason, which is really all I can ask for. Full uninterrupted preseasons is what we love to see in here, and that has been the case for LDU. Now, am I worried that he only dropped a 30 in the last preseason game? Kinda. I'd like to see him try a little bit, like put in a 60. I could cop a 60, which is what he did last year before coming out and going bang bang in the first couple of weeks. But I'm just going to talk it up to someone. He's not someone that tries in those preseason games, probably because given his injury history, why would he? Like, I can see why he'd want to cruise and just make sure he gets through unscathed into the real thing. Yeah, I mean, and they were already like winning those games anyway. It's not like he needed to try and turn it on. So, look, I think he's quite unique now. What is it, like sub 6%? Not that I really care what ownership is, to be honest. Like, yeah, 6%. And what's Butters at? No, 20%. I can't believe these guys are so low. So yeah, I'm going to take both of them on. I'm sure there's lots of higher owned mids that I am going to be death riding very early in the preseason, but that's it. All right, so why have we only picked 2? Because at this point we start getting into value, and there is so much value in the midfield. Let's just chuck a bunch of these guys I like in, and we'll talk about them. So we've got Amon, we've got Nico Martin, we've got Wines, and you could even add in a Crouch or a Holmes or a Newcomb, or I've skipped Steele as well. We'll talk about a couple of these guys in a second. So Amon, he's priced at 87, needs to average 103 as a mid, but if he gets that DPP eligibility in round 6 and moves to offense, it's more like a 98 that he needs. And in his halfback games last year, which was 6 to finish off the year, he averaged 113, taking kick-ins, all that good stuff in those. So well above what he needs to be priced at as either a mid or as a defender. And he put up the 94 in the preseason. Look, still some concern about his role for mine. We haven't seen the side with D'Ambrosio and Weddle and Amon in it. Does he get pushed up a little bit as a wing, or will they let him continue to play the halfback role? I hope they let him play the halfback role. That would be very exciting. So he's in there, and then Nico Martin, the other little DPP merchant in this side at the moment. He is priced at 85. Once again, worthwhile average about a 102 as a mid. Needs to be more like 97 as a defender. He's getting that filthy Dacos role from what we've seen in the preseason. Is he as good as Dacos? Probably not. Second best in his year. Second best Nick in his year is a little bit unfortunate. Like, yeah. But I love Nick Martin as a player. I do think he adds something to the Bombers' rebound and attack from defensive 50 that other players don't. While we have tidy kicks in Ridley and even have aggressive kicks in Redmond, I think Nick Martin is someone that actually has the vision and the precision to hit kicks the best for the, like, as the best bomber that isn't Merritt. So I think they'll persist with what we did in the preseason. Hopefully he grows into that role more as the year goes on. Really like what we saw of it. And we do have other wings to compensate for him not being in there. It's actually interesting because he's got moved off a wing and Durham's got moved off a wing, and those were our 2 wingers last year. We got Dursman, we got Sardis, but yeah, interesting stuff. But yeah, I like Nick Martin. Like Nick Martin a lot. I think he's almost a lock to get DPP. Concerns, got Hawks round 1. They could just fin mag him straight up, but I think Merritt's the more likely guy. And by the way, this is very sad, 25%. I had him 1% or something less than that. Crazy. What's Amon at? 3-4%, my boy. All right. Yeah, we're all about Carl Amon. And then Blockhead himself, we've got Ollie Wines to finish off. A bit disrespectful. Sorry, Ollie. You are a great player. Brownlee medalist, of course. So price at 78, worthwhile average is at 99 or about 100 flat. He did 95 in 76% time on ground in the preseason. That was obviously without Butters, which can make it look a little bit better than what it may be. He's had, 4 seasons of 97 plus in the past, and if he goes at that again, great. The thing to know about Ollie Wines is he hasn't had a full preseason. In the last couple of years, he has had this one. He's been injury interrupted, played out in a wing. So going back in as the lead or one of the lead CBA mids alongside Butters and Rosie this year, Port's fixture to start the year is absolutely cracked. He's only 12%. But I mean, look, West Coast, that's good. Tigers, we just saw how badly that midfield got beat up by Gold Coast. D's ended up getting bested by the Swans, who have 0 inside mids in their side. Essendon, when haven't we been fun to score against, especially if Parrish is still out. And then like Freo, Collingwood, easy mid to score on. Like, this is very nice opening round. So, and how many games are these at Adelaide Oval? Not that it really matters so much, the Adelaide Oval stuff, but like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of their first 7. That's crazy. And then 2 games of the G. So anyway, welcome Ollie Wines. Nice buy. We'll get you some money and then flip you to a premium at some point. All right, and then let's fill out the team with some cheaper guys. So I've currently got Bonner in the side, Riley Bonner. We have got he's priced at 51. His worthwhile average, I think, is just under 90. He's another one that could earn DPP status, but I think there's a good chance I flip him before he ever hits my defense. We'll see. He did 104 in the preseason, kind of played as that other rebounding half-back that, in Sinclair's absence. Sinclair coming back could mean that this pick fails pretty early and I have to jump off him, but I want to run, I think, another cheap guy in this spot. It could be that another rookie that'll run on the field and don't run Bonner. Like, we've got lots of fieldable rookies, but for now, he's kind of the placeholder there. Who else do we need? We need, like, McKercher. We need Sanders. We need Roberts. And I cannot remember who my other midfield... Oh, no, it's Clark. Of course it's Jai Clark. To be honest, in most years, I think all 4 of these will be fieldable. So to have 2 on the bench suggests that we're going to get some pretty good money out of our rookies this year. I mean, could be totally wrong about that, but Roberts is getting kick in. McKercher getting kick ins, half back roll at North, lol. Sanders and Clark both getting CBAs with seemingly good job security. We like all of that. So, mids that I missed that are worth talking about. Crouch. I do like Crouch. He's been in my team a lot of the preseason. If I had to free up money, could I see myself going LGU to Crouch and running 4 discount guys? Yeah, I could. Absolutely. We want price to go up. Crouch is going to go up. He's priced at 81, worthwhile average in the low 100s. He's definitely been able to do that before and looks to be in that CBA mid-rotation. Also someone I could see myself correcting Amon to. If Amon's playing too much wing in these early rounds, I could go to Crouch from him. Steele priced at 98, worthwhile average 108. And Miller, 96, worthwhile average 107. So both about the same, like mid-90s, got to go to high 100s to be worthwhile. I think the thing with Steele and Miller is they both can do it. Injuries last year got in the way. Miller got the new coach with the Tigers. How's it going to affect the mids? A bit up in the air, a bit up in the air. I think I'm happy to avoid and just wait and see. Steele is one that I'm still not sure, like, even if he's fit, if it's enough for him to get back to where his best. His best was really good, don't get me wrong, but Saints are playing a lot lower stoppage style than when Steele was at his best. That's just facts. They're one of the lowest ruck contest sides in the team. They were either second last to Essendon last year. So if you're just running fewer stoppages, it's just hurt someone like Steele. He's not getting involved in transition as much. I think he's someone that I will avoid. And then the last one here is Newcomb, and I'm doing it for completeness, not because I ever had any interest in Newcomb. Price 93, worthwhile average 106. A lot of people love him. I still don't get it. I think they see it as the equivalent breakout of like a Sarong. And the thing is, Sarong, prior to last year, had lower time on ground and lower CBAs and got more of both of those. Newcomb's already close to topping out on both of these. He could improve by enough that he actually does get there. It's possible. And with Day missing, he's obviously the lead mid. But I don't like picking natural progression breakouts. I want change in team, change in role, that type of stuff. Or like returning off injury. These are all much more predictable than natural progression, and the Newcomb argument is just that he'll he looks good and he'll get better. And so, yeah, no interest in that. All right, there are 3 rucks to consider, as we all know, all preseason. It is Grundy, Cherry, and Gone. As with everyone else, I saw Grundy in round 0, and I don't think there is any reason to talk about him. Let's just put him in the side. The question is, do I pair him with Cherry or Gone? So, Cherry's priced at 66. His worthwhile average is 91. He scored, 68 in the preseason game against Marshall. But the promising sign there was he beat him in hit-outs, I think, pretty convincingly. Maybe half that score, I feel like, was tap-outs. He did have, 4 frees against or something like that, which held back his score. He had 2 solo ruck games in the year prior where he averaged 92 in those, which suggests that he can get to that worthwhile average, and I think he can. So I'm probably going Cherry. Gone will definitely be able to hit his worthwhile average as well. He's priced at 92. His worthwhile average is 103. He's had 5 seasons in the past of that, and we saw last year that when he was solo rucking without Grundy, he could absolutely get back there. So if I had the cash, I'd be more than happy running Grundy than Cherry. I currently don't have the cash in this team, so it is going to be Cherry sitting there, but I am cool with either of these options. I still probably wouldn't go English or Marshall. I'm happy to bet against the expensive guys. All right, and then I think, who have we got here? We've got Livingston, we've got Barnett. I think of the 2, Barnett played slightly better, so maybe there's a chance he actually gets games. If we had a real playing option like Reedy or something like that, I would go to them instead. But we'll see. Apologies. If you haven't watched before, I don't edit these things, and I'm still getting over a cold. So I'm just going to cough and drink some water, and then we will continue on. Apologies. 2-second break. I promise, 2 seconds. That 2-second break was more than enough for you to like the video and leave a comment and, hit subscribe if you haven't done that. I hope you use that time productively. I know I did. All right, and then we've got to get into the forwards. We've got to finish this off strong with the forwards here. So what are we doing? Forward line, absolute disaster class all preseason. And then this week we've had 3 pop up in Heaney. Flanders has re-emerged. He never really left. And then Jackson as well. So how have I got this structured up at the moment? I believe it is like this. We'll go Heaney and we'll go Fisher and we'll talk about both. I mean, I think Fisher's got to be up there with some of the most owned. But all right, Heaney put in a monster game on the weekend as a CBA mid. He's priced at 80. His worthwhile average is mid-90s. And I will say that these worthwhile averages I'm reading out for the forward line, I struggle to believe in them as much because those worthwhile averages are looking at the last 10 years of history. I'd say for most of the last 10 years of history, especially if you look at the last couple of years, we've ended up with forwards that actually end up playing midfield. We had Rosie, Butters, Cogs, Goulden last year. We've had it in other years as well where we've just had these guys absolutely brained it. Oh, brained it. That's a hat chat thing. Shout out hat chat, boys. Brained it. It's good terminology. I like that. I think that it's overestimating what players will need to average to be worthwhile in our forward lines. But let's take 96's Heaney's worthwhile average. He's had 2 seasons in the past where he's gone 90 plus, and he did 121 as a full-time mid. They've got no mids for 5 or 6 weeks with Parker, Adams, Mills all out injured. So positive signs for little Heen Dog over here as number 1 mid, and he's got that built into his price already, so he's going to go up in cash. I think what happens with me most likely is we'll ride this midfield timeout the best we can. Soft fixture to start here. We got, before his bye, we've got Essendon, Richmond, and West Coast. We like that. So even if he gets moved forward, I think the risk is mitigated just by how soft this is. He should be able to kick some nice goals in these games. Tigers don't have any defenders. Let's be real, they don't. West Coast at least has a defense, but probably going to be conceding a fair bit anyway. So, ride him through those games and then trade to Flanders or another option as fit. And then Fisher, he's playing halfback at North. Come on, this is the biggest role. Who hasn't been a premium in that role? We've got 3 North players that have done it in the last 2 years, and all of them have been primos: Hall, Zeeble, Sheasel. So Hey, let's let it ride with Fisher. Let's absolutely go for that. All right, then we got to put in some mid prices to fill it out because let's be real, I don't like these rookies. I don't want to field any of these guys, and that's actually one of the big things with my team. Another little hint: I people field too many rookies. They go too guns and rookies heavy, and a lot of these rookies just don't score good. I don't want them on my field, so where I can, I'm getting them off as much as possible. So, and like, please compare to your side at the end, because I'm sure like at least 2, maybe 3 rookies here, people are going to be like fielding House. I'm not fielding House or like a Reed or a Gibkiss or something. No, thank you. And then in the forward line, I think we've only got the 2, the same. So I should have 1 less rookie on field than most others. And it does give a big advantage, although best 18 mitigates that, and theory, boring, blah, 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 blah. All right, so Jordan priced at 50, worthwhile average in the low 80s. He did, 76 versus the Ds. I think it's very reasonable for him to go low 80s in that role, as long as they don't stuff around with his role like Horse did in the first quarter, where instead of playing him as a wing with some CBAs, he was getting half forward and then CBA time, and it was so weird. Don't put him in the Tay Adams role. He's not Tay Adams. Hopefully, he sorts that out. And yeah, so Jordan, pretty good pick. Once again, soft fixture. We're talking about soft fixture for Heaney, soft fixture for Jordan. This is good. Am I concerned about having 2 of these buy players in my team? A little, but they're value, and there's a good chance that one of them's gone by the time that buy comes around for someone like Flanders coming off his buy. So not stressed about it too much. And then I've got to put in another mid-price forward, and at the moment it is Cam Mackenzie. He's priced in the 40s. He's got to average like 80 to be worthwhile. He's not going to get there. Let's be real, he's not going to be out there. Hey, at least starts with Essendon. That's nice. Cats, that should be not too bad. We saw some good out scores, like wing scores from... okay. So I don't love this pick. This is the problem with my team at the moment. The teams have been playing around with. There's like 1 or 2 positions that I don't like. In the Jackson teams that I forced, I don't like another spot on the field. So anyway, it's just Cam Mackenzie. This is like, out of all 30 picks, this is the one that I like the least at the moment. Actually, yeah, we'll talk through options later. So yeah, 76 in the preseason as well, playing that wing. Things that would give me confidence in this pick is if Josh Ward is dropped from the side, because it means he's not competing with Ward for either wing time or midfield time, which is what I'd love to see, especially with some of the opportunity with these other guys out. If someone like Dylan Moore comes back round 1 from that glandular fever, I think there's a chance it could push players like Ward out. But if they want to persist with Ward's just not that good. Stop putting him on the ball. Like, get rid of him. And then, yeah, we're going to just fill out the side with like all the same kind of like cheap guys that everyone else has. So Sexton, obvious pick. Harley Reid. I mean, I was going to play with fading him if he did put up another poor score, but he didn't. He should be fine. Who else? Oh, Wilson. Like, no-brainer pick. I think he's already been announced for debut. We've got Lazaro, which I don't love as a pick, but I also don't want to necessarily be caught without him. And then we're going to go with Cadman just because he's had the 1 price rise already. He's got North and West Coast the next 2 games. Come on, like, let's kick a bag. North's got no defenders. Like, Toby Pink's taking Hogan or something. I don't know who you're getting, but it can't be too bad. Maybe Callan Dawson. Kick 4 or 5 goals, Cadman. Just get us some quick money. So yeah, anyway, that's the team. Get the price order there. Get it together. Come on. So questions I'll get is, am I worried about captain, vice captain? No, I got Nick Dacos. He's going to play like Thursday, Friday because lol pies. Vice captain like every week. We've got Barnett or Livingston or someone as the loop. It'll be fine. Butters, LDU can both pop big scores. Like, I think this will be fine. If you had Gorn as well, that's another little bit of extra comfort. But hey, I don't like this Cam Mackenzie pick. What can I do? Let's maybe talk through the forwards that I missed. So Fife, and that would be, I think, the natural replacement. Do I actually have Fife money? How much have I got left? Like 60k? I think I've got Fife money. Oh, we can add in Fife. Maybe we like Fife. Do you know what? I'm going to leave Fife there. So anyone that just skips to the end and just sees the final team, they're not going to know about the Cam Mackenzie tech. They will have no idea, guys. What a laugh. So Fife priced in the mid-50s. He's got to average about 85. He's had 9 seasons in his career where he's averaged 85 plus, but it's been like a bit like 4 or 5 years since the last. Big change this year, moving back into the midfield. They managed him a little bit. I think he scored like a 58 in the preseason game. which, I mean, he just did all this amazing inside contested work at stoppages, and then handballed it, didn't kick it, and didn't really get involved in marking or tackling. He did have like 4 frees against, which also held down his score. So is it reasonably gets back to mid 80s? Like, I think it's possible. I definitely think it's possible, and he's probably a better pick than Cam McKenzie, just given roles inside mid rather than wing. But, you know, injury risk that's obviously there. He's older as well, so it breaks a couple of rules potentially. Jackson Flanders we missed. So Jackson priced at 85, worthwhile average is 98 for the year. And once again, these forward averages probably overcooked a little bit for premiums. I don't think they need to average that much to be top 6 this year. Now, he averaged 99 when Shrek was out last year, and I think that was over like 6 or 8 games. Pretty decent sample size. It was against some softer rucks, but still went well over the 98. It sounds like after the last couple of days where we had 4 weeks, then 8 weeks, and then 4 weeks, and 6 weeks, and 2 weeks, and 12 weeks, and then it sounds like we've landed back on 4 weeks as we've spun the wheel. I don't think 4 weeks of him averaging 100 is enough to start him. I think I'd rather go Heaney with the 120 or whatever it is already built into his price and get the rises out of that and move off Heaney rather than being forced to move off Jackson when Shrek returns for round 4. Now, could this burn me if Shrek doesn't return until round 8 or 9 or 10? Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to feel like a rightful. It'd be very painful too, because I think if we get to 4 weeks and then find out it's another 4 weeks, I probably still can't bring him in. So I'm just stuck on the sidelines getting burnt by that pick. So I can understand why people want to go with Jackson or start him, especially if you've got both Grundy and Gon. You can use him to cover those during the buys. I get that. But in my current team, I don't have room for him. If I was to get him, I think it would be doing something like Dacos down to Salem, and then hopefully I'd have enough money to move Fife up to Jackson in this team. I think that's how I would do it. And that's like true value because you're off Dacos then as well. You go no one over 900 plus, which could be the secret sauce this year. We've also missed Flanders, priced at 90, worthwhile average at 100. He did 105 in 10 games last year on 38% CBAs, had 56% on the weekend and scored in the low 90s, which is still a good score. But in a blowout win, maybe expect a little bit more. So there is a chance that, actually I think Flanders is probably going to end up being the best forward for the year. And he's, reasonably priced. If you want to start him, you don't want to stuff around with Heaney, who could get horsed. Absolutely possible. Jackson, you got to worry about when Shrek returns. If you want to start Flanders over these guys, I'm totally cool with that. It's a little bit more of a comfy pick. I think I'm just going to avoid though and upgrade one of like a Jordan or get off a Heaney or something into Flanders after his bye, especially because I think their first couple of games, actually the next 3 games are kind of tough. Crows, I think, were fairly restrictive, and they've got a lot of stoppages. Bulldogs probably isn't too bad. They're a high stoppage team. And then, GWS saw what they did to the Pies. So I could see myself like trying to jump onto Flanders before this, like round 5 or 6, like this stretch here, 5, 6, 7, 9. This all looks good. 10 looks good. 12. So, maybe around like 5, 6 kind of makes sense, which is about the time you're getting off a Heaney or a Jordan. That is the side as it currently stands going into round 1. I think we've covered off most of the guys. We've got a couple of little fun pods in here to talk about as well. We've gone through worthwhile averages. We've gone through philosophy. We've gone through the works. I hope you've enjoyed it. I know people have been asking for the fantasy side, where the fantasy side, all that type of stuff. And it's been fun talking through it. I do like fantasy. I think it's a great format. I hope I have another good year this year, but, hope only does so much. Got to actually execute with some skill. But let me know what you think, what decisions you're weighing up, how your team looks, and I'll see you in the next one. Should be doing a Q&A, either live event or video over the next couple of days. So, hope to see you in that one, and peace.